So in this strategic use of ROI, what we're trying to really do is optimize GenAI. We can throw a lot of data at it. We can ask a lot of different things, and that's going to give us a lot of data back. But when we do a lot of data going in, we are paying for all those input tokens. We are extending the time that the model is running for. So we are paying for that compute. And then it's returning a lot of data back, which we are paying for all those output tokens. Okay. So in this case, what we want to do is making sure that our data strategy is good so we can retrieve exactly the data that we need, that the model needs to be able to answer the question or the task that we have at hand. Have a good prompt. Everybody has heard of prompt engineering. I like better the word of prompt art because it's really just fine tuning that prompt to be able to make it really good with using the least amount of words so that when all this goes into the model, it's short, it's concise, and the model can run faster. When your prompts are short and when your data that is coming through is shorter, your prompt is going to go faster, which also will mean that you're only getting the data that you need, and so you're only paying for the tokens that you actually need. And so all of these will maximize your ROI. Okay. However, how can we start calculating ROI? What does it mean? Like return of investment? I get it, a lower cost by all means, and then start getting good revenue in the other end. So to help us a little bit more with this, we have put a little bit of a framework here. And so in this framework, we are gonna go through 5 steps and then a six step at the end. So we start with 5 steps of evaluation. We start with cost analysis. We need to take a look at infrastructure cost. With Bedrock, it's very easy. Input tokens, output tokens, how much you're using, and everything's on demand. Maybe later on, you're actually starting to deploy your models into your own infrastructure, like, for example, EC2 instances or SageMaker endpoints where you're paying by the hour. And so we need to take that into consideration. Not only that, but it's the other compute around it. So for example, if you're using Lambda function, EKS, ECS to make calls and to put all of this together for the end user, storage costs in S3 or RDS or Redshift, how much that will be, and be able to all of this. So we need to take a look at all these infrastructure costs. Development and maintenance costs, it takes time. The development of this is not like, okay, I'm gonna ask Bedrock to be able to do this for me, and then off it goes. There has to be development, there has to be training, and that is also something that we need to take a look at.
The resources cost on the side of the people you are involving also. And also it's important to kind of, even with the Bedrock, Eduardo, if you're using knowledge base, then you're also including
Yes,
open search over there.
point.
And also S3 you're using. So those other resources also kind of are costing you. Just
Absolutely,
keep
right?
in mind, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, also take a look into performance metrics. How fast you need? Do you need the live? Do you need the inference to be live? Do you need the output to come in right away? Or can it be batch? How much time you have to do this? Is it every half an hour? Can you do it in an hour? Can you do it now in 2 hours? This will allow you to have different strategies. And of course, the closer live you have, the higher the cost is going to be because you need to have the infrastructure to be able to handle spikes and this other stuff. Okay. But that is part of the consideration, accuracy and quality. Okay. With GenAI, you need to make sure of that. There are different models of different sizes. In general, larger models mean that you get better response, but also more input means that you get better response. So there has to be a balance in between all of these. Getting a good response with the amount of data that you want without paying an arm and a leg. So I was showing you examples. My first examples with KYC was using Sonnet. That's a medium model of Claude or Anthropic. In the second demo that I was showing you with the customized advice, that's using Haiku. The difference in price is significant. When you're doing POC, you may not notice it, but when you're dealing with thousands of requests per day, you will start noticing a difference between these. But the accuracy and quality of these ones will be slightly different, hence a lot of testing behind the scenes, making sure that you understand where you want to be in here. Now, on the business side of things, it's important to start to know where this is going to make an impact. Is it going to be revenue generating? Are we going to be able to make processes more efficient? So that means it is cost savings, or we're going to be able to produce more things by utilizing GenAI. So, for example, development, you are using GenAI to create better code. So that means that you're able to produce code faster and ship features faster. So what those type of things that we need to be able to assess, where is this impact going to be felt? We've been talking about it: risk assessment, security, compliance, technical risk, market risk. Where are we with this? We have seen so many stories in the news where a company goes fast with GenAI, they publish something, and then a user either has a bad experience, has a funny experience, or has a really wacky experience, and it makes the news. And oh well, now you're in the hook. You're in the news for the wrong reasons. So this is something that we need to make sure that you are assessing, that you are able to evaluate the output and the input that you're receiving to make sure that it is staying in the scope of what you want. And finally, the long-term value, how this is going to grow into the long term, how you're going to make it, how this is going to fit into the strategy of the organization on the long term, and be able to say, how can we start iterating to leverage this service better and better in the future? So this is something to take into account as well. Once we have done this, some of these parts are going to be very specific, like calculation of the infrastructure cost. Some of them are going to be more qualitative. So, for example, a long-term value, but these will start giving us a picture. And with that, then we're going to be able to start making some calculations. Okay, so we have the ROI, basic ROI calculation, the net benefit divided by the total cost is going to give us a percentage. How much are we going to be able to get from this? Ideally, this is going to be more than 100%. So we're going to be able to get 120% back, but it depends on how you are seeing benefit, right? So you have this net benefit of total benefits minus total cost, and then we are going to be able to see how much we're going to be able to invest more. The closer it is to 100, the better. The higher it is from 100, even fantastic. Nobody's going to put any doubts in being able to say yes to a project that has an ROI greater than 100%. But you have this. You have to, like I was telling you before, the total cost of everything that you want to do, the total benefits, quantifiable impacts from step 2 and 3. How can you start measuring those? Speed of processing, how much. We have a lot of history in businesses. We have a lot of history how features are affecting our products. What is the expected revenue that we will generate if we do something different? We can start putting those. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be precise, but it's start going to give us an idea. And we need to start adjusting this as the project goes along to be able to stay true to what the ROI is. Now, we also need to take into consideration time frame. And this is something that we're going to put the GenAI in the next month, in the next 2 months, in the next year, how this is going to grow. Are we going to realize our ROI in 3 months or in a year, 3 years, 5 years? So what is this ROI so that we make sure that it is communicated throughout? Because one thing is to say, oh yeah, we're going to realize a 200% ROI, and everybody's clapping, everything is great. And then when the project launches and the ROI is 20%, you're like, yeah, well, 200 when we are fully in production in 3 years. That's a very different story, right? So we'll make
Mhm.
sure that it is part of the conversation. And then sensitivity analysis. What are risks are there? Are we looking at best case scenario? Are we looking at worst case scenario? What are the most likely scenarios that we will be able to encounter when we are doing this ROI? The activity, being realistic on the activity that we're going to see. Everybody wants these new products to be utilized by every single user. That may not be the case. Some users may not like it. And there is always a rule that says the 20-60-20 rule. 20% of users are always going to jump in. Whatever you do, they're going to think that you are the best. 20%, the bottom 20%, they are going to think that you're always the worst. No matter what you do, there is something wrong with every experience. And then there are 60% in the middle that, hey, they are in the fence, and those are the ones that you want to work with to be able to say, okay, I can sway you into more towards the 20%, the top 20%, right?